Melinda Colt, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks so much for inviting me.
Absolutely. All the way from Romania. You are my first guest from Romania. I've gone across the pond. I've gone, I think, Australia, New Zealand, England, Ireland. I would like to speak to somebody in Germany. I'd love to interview somebody that's in the Polizei. I think that would be a ton of fun. So if anybody's listening that's in the Polizei, please hit me up. I want to talk to you. So yeah, you are my first Romanian guest. This is awesome. I absolutely love it. So you have a law degree. You were a journalist. You're a professional target shooter. We will talk about that later. You're a graphic designer, and you're an award-winning USA Today best-selling author with two pen names, writing in two very different genres. Is there anything else that you'd like to do or accomplish? What's next on the list?
When you're a writer, the sky's the limit. So I think I have my hands pretty full right now. I'm working on my two new series. We'll talk about those later. And on the short term, I'm thinking I'm going to focus on these two new series. And in the long term, like I said, the sky's the limit. I'm
Oh,
hoping to see my books made into movies, like every author ever hopes that.
absolutely.
Yeah, get an agent, and hopefully to become a full-time author. Right now, I'm kind of just part-time author. The other half of my time goes into the graphic design business. So this is kind of my next goal, to become a full-time author.
Very good. Well, let's start at the beginning. You live in Romania presently. Were you born and raised in Romania?
Yes, I was born in a small town in the south of Romania, and now I live in a big city in the west of Romania, in Timișoara. It's a very nice, multicultural city. It's full of tourists. It's actually this year it's the European Cultural Capital, so it's a very, very nice city. It's worth visiting.
Okay. So what do you like better? Do you like living in the country or do you like living in the city?
No, I'm a city girl all the way. No, I like visiting the countryside, but no
Sure.
place where there isn't delivery or kind of food delivery and
Yeah,
stuff
you
like
get
that. No.
spoiled, don't you? Right?
Yes, yes, you do. And that's why I love the big city. I don't like to be in the crowds a
Yeah.
lot, but usually I prefer to be close to stuff.
Okay. I totally understand that. I've lived in both, and as I get older, I like the conveniences of a big
Yeah,
city, right? It's
exactly.
like
Yes,
the grocery store is 5 minutes away. You know,
exactly.
everything is like 5 minutes away for the most part. I don't want to drive a half an hour or 45 minutes to get a gallon of milk.
Yeah, so or if you have a medical emergency and you
Right.
live, I don't know, in a remote place, then that can go really bad.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. As you get older, and that's me, things start falling apart. And so that that's
Oh, I'm getting
important.
older too.
No, you're not. No, you're not. All right. So, did you live in Romania when it was under communist rule?
A bit. So I was 3 years
I know
old
you're
in
very young. Yeah.
1989.
Yeah.
Not that young. I'm 37.
Mm,
I was three when the revolution, we just refer to it as the revolution,
yeah.
when the Ceausescu regime fell. My dad was actually an active participant in the revolution,
Oh, okay.
and obviously I don't remember a lot because I was very little. What I do remember is that at nighttime they would cut off the electricity, and I have this vivid memory of winter nights when my dad had improvised a terracotta heater so he could warm my mom and I, and he would carry wood up 4 flights of stairs because we had no elevator,
Yeah.
and he was up all night trying to keep us warm. And
Wow.
Yeah, that was very rough. I mean, it had to be to determine a whole country to go out in the streets and do something about it. Also, food. As far as I remember, food was, I don't know, sparse. Let's just say we didn't
Yeah.
have a lot of it. Yeah, but that's kind of what I remember. That's about it.
So your dad was a revolutionary. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's very
It
cool.
wasn't it wasn't really cool at the time because
Right.
it was dangerous, and my mom didn't have any news from him for 3 weeks. That I remember they were talking about when I was a kid.
Yeah,
But in the end, it all turned out okay.
absolutely. Wow, that's amazing. So what was your childhood like? You've done so many different things. It seems like you have so many different interests. Who are your influences?
My childhood was really interesting.
Okay.
Um, so my mom was a stay-at-home mom, and my dad was a target shooting coach. Um, he was gone a lot on competitions all over the country, sometimes outside the country. Um, and I was I kind of grew up on the shooting range.
Oh,
So
cool. Okay.
I grew up like that. He taught shooting. Shooting is an Olympic sport.
Right.
So, we were talking earlier about target shooting. Um, and he was one of the best coaches in the country at that moment in time.
Okay.
Um, he was also a big lover of books.
Mm.
I grew up among books. We had walls covered in books in our house. And my mom taught me how to read when I was 4.
Oh,
And
wow.
then,
Okay.
yeah, ever since then, books have been my number one passion. They still are. Um, so this and my dad again he was very artistic. He knew how to paint. I still have some paintings that
Okay.
he painted. He played the guitar, he sang, he knew how to do everything. And that was really cool because as
Yeah.
I grew up, he wanted me to know how to do everything, how to be very self-sufficient. And when I was 12, my parents split up, and I was left with my dad. And that was also really interesting because he was a very cool dad. He was very strict. He
Yeah.
expected me to be a straight A student all the time. Most of the time, I actually made that. But he was also cool. He was a modern kind of parent and very creative. So
Yeah.
I was never bored. I was never bored. I always learned something new. That was really educational, I would say.
Yeah, getting back to the shooting because that kind of triggered
Sure.
my my interest. What kind of guns were you using?
So my dad was a pistol
Mm,
coach. There are several types of guns that are used in shooting, and he was pistol coach. We used air guns, and we used what we called sport pistols, which is basically small handguns, firearms, small
yeah,
firearms.
like 22 caliber, I'm guessing, or smaller.
No, smaller than that. So
Oh,
we used competitional weapons, not
okay,
anything that you would find on the street. So,
right.
yeah, if I were to name some brands of pistols that we used, you might probably not heard of them because they're strictly used in competitions.
Yeah, interesting. Very interesting. Did you ever try biathlon? Did you ever get into that?
No, no. The highest I got in my shooting career was to be a national champion
Well, that's
several
good.
times.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, not that much. My dad had higher hopes, but I found that this wasn't a career that you could actually, make money out of or make a
Okay,
living.
sure.
So yeah, it was a sport. It was a great sport. It taught me a lot of discipline.
Mm,
It taught me a lot of things, but The highest I got was to be a national champion a few years in a row, both on individual level and with my team.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Now, did he teach you how to play the guitar
He
as well?
tried, it didn't stick.
Oh.
No, he tried. No, I'm tone deaf now. And sadly, I don't have talent for that and any singing and stuff like that. No.
Okay. Now, let's start with a law degree. Why did you go after a degree in law?
Well, I studied law and public administration. That's
Okay,
the description of my university degree. I didn't want to be a lawyer, but at that time I had no idea what I wanted to do. So I figured I might have more options with this, law
sure.
and public administration. There was, we had a good education system, but um, it didn't have any programs to help students figure out what they wanted to do,
Hmm,
to prepare them for real life. So I had excellent teachers, and they were all very good at their respective disciplines, but we lacked perspective, at least I did. So that's why I kind of ended up fumbling a lot in my life until I figured out I was a creative person and that I wanted to be a writer. It took a while, but
okay.
I look at these things as bricks in the building of my life experience.
Absolutely. It makes you you, right? You wouldn't be
Yeah,
you if you didn't go through all that stuff. And
that's true.
I did similar, stuff in my life. I tried different stuff and I worked different jobs and they all kind of helped me out, when I ultimately became a police officer. You wouldn't think that selling cars or being a bartender would help you, but it really did. You learn how to talk to people.
Yeah, everything contributes,
Yes,
and
it
also,
does.
everything contributes in your writing career
Oh,
because it
absolutely.
it makes you, knowing even a bit about everything. It's priceless.
It really is. It truly is. So, I was Googling Romanian laws and I found some very
Okay,
interesting ones over there. It said you can't have any alcohol and drive a car. Zero.
that is correct. Yes.
Wow. So does Uber is flourishing or is there good public transportation or
Um, Uber is flourishing, yes.
yeah.
And the public transportation is good in the big cities, and it's decent in the big cities.
Okay.
Not everyone abides by the law because, but
Right.
that is the law. Technically, you cannot have any alcohol and drive a car.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. I know there's some countries if you get arrested for drunk driving, they'll take your car.
Well, I think this is what they should do here too, or take your driver's license.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Wow. So, you must be 18. Here, you could start learning when you're 15, which is kind of young.
it is. I think it's kind of young. I think even 18 is kind of young because
It is.
a lot of yeah, it's it is
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah, exactly. So, this one I found a little bit different. And, the age of sexual consent is 16. It used to be 14, which I think is like crazy young. But people can get married at 16. Can people get married at 16? I thought I saw something like that.
They can get married at 16 only in some special circumstances and only if they have the permission of their parents or legal guardians.
God, I
But
can't.
that doesn't happen all that often as you
Right.
would think.
I had no clue whatsoever what life was when I was 16 years old. I can't even
Me
imagine
neither.
that kind of responsibility. Oh my God. So
Yeah,
the legal drinking age is 18 and you can drink in public. That's fun. Hey.
yes, that's also correct. In Romania, as once as you're 18 years old, you're basically considered an adult. So you can do anything that an adult is allowed to do legally.
Right. Yeah, it used to be that way over here. When I was 18 years old, the drinking age was 18. And then they slowly raised it up to 21.
Very good. They did that very good. I wish we do that
Oh, really?
here. Yep.
Why is that?
because like you said, I don't think at 18 you really know what the hell you're doing, and you shouldn't have, you shouldn't be drinking, and you shouldn't be driving, and you shouldn't be getting married so young, if you
Yeah,
ask me.
that is true. That is true. So, journalism, how did that happen? And how long were you a journalist?
Wow. So that happened, it started in high school.
Okay,
I was 18, I was in my last year of high school. And you can also start working when you're 18 here, working legally.
right.
And I got a job at the local newspaper. My dad was also working part-time there.
Hmm.
My dad was like, he did kind of everything. He had all the careers you can imagine. So
Yeah.
I kind of took after him. And I cannot say, I did serious journalism, like investigative journalism or anything like that. No, it was a small town and small newspapers. There wasn't anything really interesting that was going on at the time,
Okay.
which was, it was for the best because it was a nice way for me to enter the workforce. Um, I think at first I wrote all sorts of things. At first I started writing some satire, some pamphlets, some kind of funny stuff like that, entertainment whatsoever. Then I covered the sports page for a bit. Then I wrote about local news, um, kind of odd jobs. So I cannot exactly say that I had a glowing career as a journalist. And the funny thing is, all the time, this while that I was writing these things, it still didn't cross my mind, and I still didn't realize that I wanted to write fiction and I wanted to become an author. That hit years later. But like I said, it helps.
Sure. Now, I'm thinking to myself, maybe you got some good writing experience. So you're a writer now, you're an author. Do you think that helped you out quite a bit?
I think so, yes. Although, writing nonfiction, basically, it's kind of a different thing altogether. But definitely, yeah, I think all the things that I've done have helped me become a better writer, hopefully.
Hopefully, that's what we all hope for.
Yeah,
You know,
at least I'm good enough to realize that I have a long way to learn and a long way to go. I
sure,
guess
sure.
that's a good start.
I gotcha. I was going to talk a little more about the target shooting, which I'm fascinated with. I think it's neat. I did a ton of it when I was a kid and a teenager, both with guns and air guns and bow and arrow. I really liked bow and arrow.
Oh, that's cool. I tried it once and I started it, but the I wasn't the guy didn't explain to me very well what I had to do.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So yeah, it's completely different, from shooting a gun.
Yeah. Now, what are the gun laws like in Romania? Can you have a gun or what does that look like?
No, they're actually very strict. So, in order to get a gun to keep it at home, you have to get a special permit from, and from the police and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And I don't think you're allowed at all, under any circumstances, to carry a gun on the street as a civilian.
Okay.
I
Okay.
don't know, the police officers obviously are different, but civilians, no, they are not allowed to carry guns.
Yeah, I did notice that, Romanian police officers are armed. They've got long guns and they've got pistols. So,
Yes,
yeah, that's interesting. So, when you go to a shooting range, it's kept there. The guns are kept there. I imagine you can't take them
yes.
with you. Okay.
No, you cannot take them with you. You can rent them from that
Okay.
shooting range. You
Yeah.
rent them and that's it. But you cannot own a gun legally.
Okay. I assume is hunting big in Romania? I mean, can you have like a shotgun or something like that for hunting?
I don't know, to be perfectly honest.
Okay.
I don't think so. I've never been into hunting. I've never hunted anything.
Mhm.
My only shooting was done toward paper targets.
Yes.
So I'm not, I don't know about this.
Okay. So, do you still shoot for fun? I mean, you did it professionally. You won awards and all that kind of stuff. Do you just go sometimes just for the fun of it?
I plan to. I haven't been in a shooting range for a decade, I think.
Okay.
And I really plan to. I want to do it. I actually, uh, made plans with my husband a ton of times to go and shoot for fun, but so far it hasn't happened. It's
Okay.
definitely something that we plan to do.
Right, right. Now, does your husband sleep with one eye open? Is he a little bit worried because you're such a good shot?
No,
Oh, okay.
no, he can handle me.
Oh,
And
okay, okay. Now, do you think that your shooting experiences helped you in your thriller books? And do you incorporate some of this into your stories?
yes, definitely. I think they helped. I haven't written many scenes, many shooting scenes so
Hmm.
far, but when I will, I definitely think this will come in handy, and it will, help me write realistic scenes.
Absolutely.
Um, I did have a romance novel where the heroine was a target shooting coach, but
Oh, okay.
that was published like a decade ago, and now it's no longer available because it was one of my earlier works
Mm.
that are not available anymore right now.
We all have those. Yes.
Yeah, but I got all of them published.
Yeah, absolutely. Why wouldn't you? Oh my.
Yeah,
So let's switch
I didn't
gears
know
here.
better.
Let's switch gears here a little bit. You own a graphic design studio. How did that happen? And I'm going to guess that you create your own book covers.
I do create my own book covers, yes. Graphic design studio, that's a fancy word for just me being a freelance graphic designer.
That's a graphic design studio in my
Yeah.
book, damn it.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I love that. I'm gonna put that on my website.
I think you should.
So, that happened when I first published my book. I was too broke to afford a graphic designer.
Mm,
And my husband, who knows a lot about graphic design, decided that we can make a cover together. So we worked on my cover, and in the process, I discovered that I really loved to do graphic design. And over the years, I started, at first I started doing my own covers, and over the years I started doing covers for other authors,
yeah.
and it kind of grew into a business. And right now it's, kind of a pretty good business. I love it.
So if somebody
It's
wants to get a cover from you, where do they go for that?
For that they go to my website coveredbymelinda.com
Covers by
and
Melinda. Okay.
coveredbymelinda.com.
Covered.
Yes,
Okay. Covered by
covered.
Melinda.
Yes,
Yes, I
like
want to get
I
this.
got you covered.
All right. I'm gonna put that in the show notes along with everything else.
Oh, thank you.
You bet. Because you have great covers. Your covers are very eye-catching. I like your covers and I assume you did your websites as well. You have two like
Yes,
author websites. Those are great.
thank you.
They're
Thank you.
again,
I really enjoy this kind of graphic design, creative work. I really enjoy it.
yeah, like I said before, they're very eye-catching. They fit the genre perfectly. It's like, okay, you have, like your thriller books. You could look at the cover and it's like, okay, yeah, this is like a police thriller, that makes sense. And then
Thank you.
the romance ones, it's like, okay, yeah, this is romance. Not that I'm into romance or anything, but yeah, I could tell. And that's one thing where independent authors kind of miss the mark sometimes. They have a cover
Yes,
that's near and dear to their heart, or there's something that they really want to put out there, but it doesn't quite fit like what the genre
yes.
expectation is or something like that. And then they miss the mark because your book is, people judge your book by the cover.
Yes, that's the first thing people do. People see about your book, and I did my that mistake myself several times, many times. I don't know how many times. That I had my heart set on a cover, and I was too close to the story, and
Right.
the cover didn't sell because the most important thing about the cover is what you said. It needs to convey the genre. That's number one, and a lot of authors want to tell the whole story in the cover. And I
Right.
always try to, educate my clients and advise them about this. Look, this is the most important thing. Your cover needs to fit the current trends. It needs to stand out among traditionally published books, because that's also important. It needs to look professional and, to convey the genre.
Right. I think that if you're looking like on Amazon and you see a bunch of, like crime thriller books, you shouldn't be able to tell who is traditionally published and who is independently published by the book cover.
Ideally, that should be the case.
Yes.
Um, I've seen lots of, traditional publishers that have kind of not so good covers, and I've seen indie
Right.
covers that are stellar, that are
Yep.
they're gorgeous. So yeah, the market is shifting, and I love that.
Yeah, it's I guess when you're Stephen King or James Patterson, you can put up whatever you want to put up and yeah, it'll
Yeah, you
sell,
put
right?
on your name takes
R-
up, half the
r-
cover at least. That's it.
Right.
You can sell anything.
Well, let's talk books. What came first? Romance under the pen name of Melinda De Ross or your crime thrillers under Melinda Colt?
Melinda De Ross was first.
Okay.
That happened about 11 years ago. I was kind of at a crossroads in my career. I wasn't sure, what to do, and I remember I was, sitting around, and my dad asked me what the hell was wrong, and I said, what the hell am I going to do with my life? I have no talent. I have no idea what to do and what I want to be when I grow up. And hell, I was already grown up. And
I still feel
my
that way.
dad, yeah. And my dad said, I remember till this day, he said, you have talent with words. Write. And I said,
Perfect.
write what? Anything. Write whatever you want. Write something. Write a story. So I did. I started writing a story. Um, Looking back, it was a horrible story, but
First books usually are not our best books. So yeah, you
yes,
gotta
yes,
get that out of your system, right?
exactly, yeah. So it was some sort of weird romance with some kind of paranormal goings on, and I, of course, I loved it. I mean, at the time, I thought it was a masterpiece.
Of
Every
course.
writer does, yeah.
Yes.
So, so I wrote that in Romanian. But since my dad had, he was also a writer. I don't know if I mentioned that among his many talents, and he had some experience in writing and publishing. So when I wrote the story, it was called Rendezvous with Chimera, and one careless blogger called it Rendezvous with Hymen.
Oh.
That was
Yeah,
that
you
was
know
a
what?
memorable that was a memorable moment in my career. The first one of many.
Oh boy.
And yeah,
That's funny.
so yeah, so then I decided, I was going to write in English because I wanted to reach as many readers as possible, and from a strictly a business perspective, that made sense. There are like, I don't know, 22 millions of people who speak Romanian, and there are 1.5 billions of people who speak English. So um, I translated it into English,
Okay.
and I decided on the pen name Melinda De Ross because I wanted something that's, short, easy to remember. That kind of sounded, nice.
Yeah.
And the funniest thing of all is that I actually started, to pitch that novel to some publishers,
Yes.
and I actually got a contract. It
Okay.
was from a small publisher, from a small American publisher, but it was, the boost that I needed at that time, the validation that I needed
Yeah.
to think that I was going to be the next Nora Roberts of the world.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So you went the traditional route for your first book. You got published. How did that go?
Uh, well, I want to say it was traditional. It was a small independent,
Oh, okay.
a small independent publisher. Um, I wanted to go the traditional way. So what I did after I finished the book was I wrote to Janet Ivanovich, who is one of my favorite authors. I never expected her to actually reply to me, but she did, in a matter of hours. And I
Okay.
asked her what I should do now that I wrote a book. Um, and she told me that I should get an agent, which I didn't try to do, and it's for the best because no respectable agent would have accepted that book. So I started to pitch it to some publishers, and one of them accepted it. They offered me a contract for it. It was a small American publisher.
Yeah.
It wasn't a big traditional publisher or anything like that. But like I said, it was what I needed to steer me toward this path. And after that, I started writing more books. I moved on to a slightly bigger publisher and then a bigger publisher. Um, Eventually, I started to publish some books in Romania. I did have a couple of books published by a major traditional publisher, but I didn't think that was a big deal. It didn't turn out the way I hoped. So then I decided I would go indie all the way. And right now I'm an indie author all the way.
Excellent. Now, when you were doing all this, pitching and all that, these were all under your romance
Yes,
name. These
yes,
are all romance
yes,
books. What kind of
yes.
romance did you write, or do you write?
All kinds. So all
Okay.
kinds. At first I started writing romance, dabble into paranormal. This is the thing, when you start writing, this is the when I get asked what advice I would give to anyone who starts writing is start learn how to write before you start writing. So learn about genres, learn about story structure, learn all these things about craft and tropes and stuff like that. Because when I started learning, I had no idea what the hell I was doing. I had read, thousands of books, but that did not make me a writer.
Okay.
So I wasted, the first wasted. That's a kind of a negative word, but I spent a lot of years um, trying to figure out what I was doing instead of just learning from the start. Look, this is the, contemporary romance. This is the genre. These are the tropes. This is kind of how it's supposed to go and stuff like that. So after the first three books, which are unpublishable, although I did publish them at some point, I could say I went into romantic comedy.
Okay.
But I also have three suspense romance novels,
Hmm,
which are happen to be actually my best work. Except, like I said, I didn't really promote them a lot because I was a newbie and I didn't know what I was doing.
sure.
So right now, I would say I'm a writer of contemporary romance.
Okay. Gotcha. Now, yeah, I love that, you went the indie route. I'm a big believer in that. I wouldn't say no to the right contract, from like a
Yeah.
traditional publishing house, but the stars would have to align. It would have to be like exactly what I wanted. But I love being an indie because I love working for myself.
Yes.
You
Yes,
know,
it's very nice, and especially, if you're a control freak, like I am, for instance, you want to have control over your books and over your stuff, and there's also, the matter of promotion and advertising.
right.
Um, yeah, traditional publishers don't really do much.
No, they don't.
So
Yes,
yeah, so the authors still have to advertise their own books. So then why would I give a chunk to a
correct.
traditional publisher only to do my own advertising? Like
I
like you said, I would say yes to the right contract, but thankfully indie authors have a lot to choose from these days and have a
They
lot more
do.
say, which
Yeah,
is it's fantastic.
absolutely. So you also write in like crime fiction. Let's talk about your Irish Garda squad books. Why the Irish police force? Why not like Romanian police or British bobbies or something like that?
Well, I didn't think, that many people would be interested in reading about Romanian police. Like I
Okay.
said, from the first, I was my target audience was English speaking people. So I wanted to reach as many readers as possible. Um, Now, I didn't know anything about British mysteries, but that has been, written and rewritten and stuff like that. And
Sure.
at that time, I was obsessed with writing something original. I hadn't realized that there is no such thing as writing something original. You can at best write, something, put a new twist on something, and even that is kind of not impossible, but really hard in a market where there are 6 million books published on Kindle every day, I think. I don't know
Yeah,
what the stats are, but
it's a crazy
approximately.
number. Yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted to write something original. So I figured that I didn't know at the time that, that there were already several authors writing about the Irish Garda. So I thought, I discovered America or Ireland or whatever. So I figured I would write something that has an American and Irish cast, something like an interesting mix,
Yeah.
which I really think it worked out nicely. They're still my best books. One of them actually won a Rhone Award, and I really like how they turned out. Um, this was kind of my major motivation to write something that hadn't been written, to write something engaging.
Yeah.
um, Readers complained, some readers complained that I put too much romance because it was a transition.
Well, yeah, there's
Romance
the
author,
cops
yeah,
can
romance
have
author.
romance too. I mean, yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that not having any kind of romance is unrealistic. If you want
Correct.
books to imitate life, then that's impossible. I mean, you'd have to live alone in the top of the mountain to not
Yeah.
have any kind of romance. Seriously.
You are correct. You are correct about that.
Yeah.
Now, do you know any what kind of what kind of homework, what kind of what am I looking for here? What kind of
Research.
yeah, research. What kind of research did you do? Did you go over to Ireland? Do you know any Gardas?
No, I didn't go to Ireland. I actually wrote to Garda Síochána, the Irish police force, with some questions, and they were pretty helpful. I wrote, I sorry, I did some research, on the internet as much as I could,
Sure.
and I think a couple of years ago, yes, it's been a couple of years ago, I took Adam Richardson class, Detective for Writers.
Yes,
That
yes.
was a game changer.
Okay.
So that, yeah, that kind of changed my whole perspective. That was the best research that I did for my crime fiction
Mm,
novels.
okay. Yeah,
So yeah,
Adam's a good friend of mine. So yeah,
yes,
that makes me very happy. Yeah, he's a great guy. I totally recommend his courses. And on the show, I've had Marie O'Halloran on a few times, and she's
yes,
an Irish Garda.
I know about her,
Marie, I'm
but
talking
we
about
haven't
you.
met.
So
Hi, Marie.
hi, Marie. So, I know Marie would be more than open to your questions. If you have any questions about the Irish police force, her author career is taken off like crazy. So I'm super happy to see that. She's just such a nice person.
That is awesome. I have her books on my TBR list, but I haven't read them yet.
Gotcha.
But I'm looking forward to reading them.
Yeah, I think that's really neat. So when you first started writing your Irish Garda series, did you have the intention of writing it as a series, or did you write the first book and you're like, hey, I think this could be a series? Was it intentional, like when you first started, or was that your plan, or did it just kind of happen?
Yes, that was my plan.
Okay.
After 7 years of fumbling, I did, understand that series are the way to go. So this time, I started writing them from the first as a series.
Mm,
But I also wanted, I wanted them to be able to be read as standalones. So each novel can be read as a standalone.
Okay.
Um, Kind of, each novel has a, like I said, a cast, a detective or several detectives from the Irish Garda, and there's a mystery, but they have no connection to the other books except, for cameos of certain characters.
Oh, okay.
But yes, I wanted them to be a series or like a collection in the same universe.
Okay, gotcha. That makes sense. That makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
Um, Now, how many languages do you speak?
Two,
Two?
Romanian, English, and maybe a bit of Spanish, but not fluent.
Okay. Now, for your books, do you do all of your books in Romanian and English?
No, no, I write in English only. Just my first book, I wrote it in Romanian,
Okay.
and after that, I started writing in English. I
Oh,
find it a lot easier now. I don't write in
okay.
Romanian anymore.
Okay. Now, people who are bilingual, I always ask this question is when you dream, what language do you dream in?
Mostly English.
Really? Okay. Now you're
Yeah.
raised obviously in Romania. You're very fluent in Romanian, but wow, that I find that interesting. And I've had more than one person say that to me. So I always find that very fascinating.
I think because, I obviously I spend a lot of time speaking in English. Half of the time I speak in English with my husband because he also, he works for a multinational company and he
Ah.
speaks in English at work. So we
Mm.
find ourselves, speaking in English at home too, most of the time, or half of the time.
Right.
And I love, both languages.
Yeah.
I find English very melodious. It
Mm.
resonates with me.
Okay. Yeah. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your Irish Garda book series? What's it about?
Well, it's like I said, it's a collection of standalone police procedurals slash mysteries that take place in Dublin, in Ireland.
Mm.
They feature a mixed cast of American and Irish characters. They all are detectives from An Garda Síochána, the Irish police force, and each book focuses on a case the police has to solve, and there's also a sideline romantic story. They're also kind of romantic thrillers, they have been called by readers. I have three novels in the series and a novella. And at this time, I don't think I'm going to write more books in this series.
Okay. All right. Very cool. So let's talk about your romance pen name, Melinda De Ross. Why write the romance? And do you write in a series for romance just like you do in the police procedural stuff?
I do now. Again, it took me some time to figure out that series are, the most successful, and the readers love series. So, like I said, I fumbled a lot with my romance pen name, but what I do have published right now are my best books. They're all standalones,
Hmm.
and I'm working at a new series right now. Book one is finished, and I'm working on the draft of book two.
Okay.
This time will be a series of at least five books,
Now, is this going to be
and
romance, the one that you just finished?
yes,
Okay.
yes, romance.
Gotcha.
Yes, it's going to be romantic comedy. That's
Oh,
I
okay.
figure that this is my jam for my
Okay,
romance
cool.
pen name. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm going to write detective mysteries, with the dark, the nitty-gritty and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And when I'm tired and I need a break, I'm going to write a romantic comedy.
Okay, cool. So you won the USA Today bestseller title under the romance pen name, correct? Melinda De
Yes,
Ross. Tell us
yes.
about that. How did that happen? Because there's so many authors out there that'd be like, oh, it'd be so cool to be a New York Times bestseller, Wall Street Journal, USA Today, all that. How did that come to fruition? How did that happen?
Oh man, that was a crazy story. So um, in 2018, um, I got it, I got this crazy dream in my head that I wanted to be the first Romanian author to achieve this title, USA Today
Okay.
bestselling author. So I wanted to, I started, doing some research on how to go about this. And at the time, you had to sell at least 10 to 15,000 copies in the release week to even hope to be on that bestseller list.
Yes.
So I realized that, at that time I could not do it on my own. And a friend of mine who's now my publisher, she told me about this group of great authors. Uh, and she said, you know what, they're preparing a box set, and maybe you should write to them and see if they're willing to take another story.
Yeah.
So I wrote to them. I wrote to Mimi Barber from the Authors Billboard, and told her about my ambition. And she was so nice about it. She said, "You know what? We have everything ready, but if you can write a story in a month, we're going to get you into the box set, and you're welcome to join our group."
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
yeah, I wrote that story in a month. I worked like crazy.
Oh, yeah.
It was a crazy time, and um, that was in 2018, in summer toward autumn, something like that. And we promoted it very intensely. And in October, we made the USA Today bestsellers list.
Oh,
The
how many words was the story that you wrote in 1 month?
I think about 30,000 words,
Okay.
something like that. It wasn't very big,
Yeah.
but anyway, it was an undertake.
Yeah.
The funny thing was that, in Romania we have a different version of the USA Today website, and I couldn't see the uh, section with the bestsellers. I didn't
Oh,
have
no.
access to it. No, we have a different version in Europe, at least in Romania, a different
Yeah.
version of the website. So I could not see the
Oh.
list, the page with the list. And one of the authors, one of my friends, emailed me at some point and said, "You know what? You made USA Today bestseller." And then she said, I was just, getting excited and screaming and all that. And then she emails me again and said, "Oh my God, no, wait, that's not you. That's not us. Wait, it's not. Oh, I was wrong. It's another book." And then, I just dropped it. And then
Yeah.
again, another author, one of the authors in the group, messaged me and sent me a screenshot and said, "You're USA Today bestselling author."
Okay.
And that time was for real.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
awesome. How
it
awesome
was.
is that? That's great. So,
It was.
yeah. So I think you told us how you split your time between being a crime writer and a romance writer. How do you market the two genres? I mean, those are two different genres. What works best, do you think, for marketing both of those?
Um, so I've been a bit out of the game for the past year, almost 2 years.
Yeah.
And I kind of don't do that much marketing right now because I don't have any new books out. Um,
But you
I uh,
will.
I
You
will,
will.
yes, I will.
Yes.
So what I plan to do in my experience, Amazon ads, they are, um, the kind of the best thing that works for advertising.
Mm.
I plan to dabble in Facebook ads too. Maybe take a couple of classes to refresh my knowledge. But yes, it's really hard, and probably this is why kind of, I put off advertising until I have
Okay.
several books out. After
Gotcha.
that, I'm going to, yeah,
Okay.
I'm
That
going to
sounds good.
market, put on my marketing hat.
Okay. So, at the beginning of the show, we said, it would be cool to get a movie deal, for one of your books. If you did, is there a specific actor or actress you'd like to be playing some of these parts?
If you asked me that, 10 years ago, I would have said Gerard Butler. But
Okay.
Right now, he's not of the age that my characters are.
Okay.
I normally, I used to, when I wrote romance, I used to imagine certain actors in my head, but for the Irish Garda, I have no idea. All I
Okay.
know is, that they would have to have a great Irish accent. Other than that, to be perfectly honest, I would be happy with whatever the producers decided. I would be very easy to work with.
Yeah,
So,
just don't get Tom Cruise then because he probably has one of the worst Irish accents I've ever heard. I think it was I forget there was a movie with him and Nicole Kidman. It was a long time ago.
oh
And
yes, I know it. Far and
yeah.
away,
Yeah,
far and
far
away.
and away.
Oh,
Yep, yep.
yeah,
Oh my
yeah, I
God,
know it.
those Irish accents were so hideous. I made my skin crawl. I'm like, oh, Irish people don't talk like that. Oh my Lord, this is terrible. Who said this is
Yeah,
a good idea? Like, wow, just
yeah,
terrible.
because you know how a
Oh
proper
yeah,
Irish
I sure
accent
do.
is supposed to sound like. But I didn't, and I kind of enjoyed the movie. So, but now that you pointed it out, I'm going to watch it and nitpick at the accent.
There you go. There you go. So you got on my radar from your thread at 20 books regarding not writing. It was the end. You had a pomegranate juice, and that was your drink of choice with your the end. You just got done writing a book, and you you weren't writing for a while because of a tragic loss, and then you got back into writing and finished that book. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, so in November 2021, my dad was diagnosed with lung cancer,
Mm.
and 6 months later, he passed away. So even before that, before November, it was exactly 2 years ago, I was struggling a bit with writer's block. I was trying to, so I had just transitioned from romance to writing crime fiction, and I wasn't feeling that I was doing such a great job. I was still not sure of the authenticity of what I was doing. And I was kind of in a bit of a jam, and my father's diagnosis just put a stop to my writing altogether.
Sure.
Um, Obviously, we didn't know that he was going to die in 6 months. His prognosis was bad from the first, but we kept hoping because that's what you
Yeah.
do. And those 6 months, I didn't write at all, of course. And after that, another 6 months, I was also kind of unable to write. Um, what kind of breathed life into me again was going to an author conference that was 20 Books Madrid. That was
Oh, sure.
in June 2022. Yeah. So that was the first time when I felt, a bit motivated to write again. But from that point on, um, it was still, a long way until I actually did it. But that was the first step that determined me to not give up on writing and you know continue, keep trying to get back.
Sure. Well, thank you for sharing with that. I know that's not easy, but you know, it's hard to get back on the horse again when something like that happens. But I think it's important that you do and you finished and you're going forward. So, my hat's off to you.
Yeah,
That
it's a process, I mean, it's grief. It's different for everybody.
sure.
um, for me, I don't know, I've seen people who got over a loss easier. Others never get over it. For me, the loss of my father was the biggest tragedy in my life
Yes.
so far, the biggest trauma.
Right.
And getting back and grieving and mourning, this comes in waves. So you need to be kind to yourself. What I I did the most in those first months, that first year, was, I beat myself up a lot for not being able to write.
Sure.
So I felt guilty. I felt pressure. I knew that I was letting readers down by not writing more books, and um, I was just, in a very dark place. And I
Mm,
remember at one point I had to write a newsletter, and I had no idea what the hell to write because I had
sure.
nothing, no news. I wasn't
Yeah.
working on anything new. So I just explained to readers. I just laid it all out. I explained to my readers what happened.
Yeah.
I talked about my dad. I don't usually do this because, um, being open or oversharing makes you vulnerable to all sorts of
Yes.
criticism and stuff. But I don't know. I wasn't even sure when I wrote that newsletter. I wasn't sure that I was going to send it, but I did send it, and I also published it on my blog. And I was shocked to receive so many emails and messages from readers, um, supportive messages, messages where they were telling me to take my time, that they were going to wait for me,
Oh.
um, messages from readers who shared their own experiences
Mm,
and tragic loss and stuff like
yes.
that. And that was life changing. I mean, this moment where strangers all over the world reach out to you and they support you and they tell you, you know what, we're here for you. It hits you, It
Right.
just that was the moment when it hit me. You know what? There are people there out there who actually read my stuff and they kind
Absolutely.
of care about me.
Yeah.
So that was the moment, that everything shifted, and I said, you know what? I'm going to get back for them first of all. I have a purpose, and I started, going uphill from there.
Okay. Now, what advice would you give to someone who went through something similar to you, something tragic, a loss, and, you know, how do you get back to writing again? You just said that, communicating with your readers, there's a lot of kind people out there. I think people forget that for the most part, people are good. They're good natured. Most people are. And they kind of rally behind you when something bad happens and they want to see you do well and they want to see you happy. So, you know,
That's true.
what advice would you give to someone who's going through something that you went through?
I would say first thing, be kind to yourself. Don't
Sure.
beat yourself up because you cannot do this, you cannot do that. You need to set your own rhythm into getting back. You need to accept that there are going to be good days and bad days, and you need to take your time, take advantage of the good days. Um, let the bad days just come. Let them come. Let them go, and don't be afraid to open up to your, loved ones or even readers if you have them, because like you said, Patrick, there are so many kind and good people out there. You don't know. Sometimes, you feel that you're alone in your tragedy, but when you share and people reach out to you, you realize that you are part of something much bigger than yourself. So take advantage of that.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, let's start wrapping this up. It's been about an hour. Uh, what's next for you? Where are we going, Melinda?
Well, I'm just focusing on my two new series, one under my romance pen name, Melinda De Ross, and the other one under Melinda Colt. That's going to be series of crime fiction, detective fiction set in San Francisco. So
Oh,
I'm moving from
you are
Ireland to the
moving. Yeah,
States.
look at you.
Yep,
Okay, you're
I'm
venturing west.
moving. Yes. And that's right now, that's my focus. I want to focus more on reaching more readers. That means learning the dreaded advertising.
Oh yeah.
And I want to, to branch out into audiobooks, into translations. And kind of, I think this is what's next for me next year at least.
Excellent. Very good. All right. And also, let's not forget about your graphic art, your graphic design studio.
Yes,
You're
well, that's kind of my day job, so that
right.
stays
Let's
in the
not
picture
forget
for now.
let's not forget about that because you are talented. Like I said before, I love your covers, your website. You can tell. I mean, yeah, they're spot on. So that's
Thank
awesome.
you. Thank you.
All right. So where can people find if people want to find out more about you and your books, where do they go?
Well, if they want to learn about my romance books, go to melindadeross.com. And if you want to learn more about my mystery and thriller series, go to melindacolt.com. Or I would recommend both.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you so much for this conversation. This has been a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you for inviting me. This really was great.